going to get the big bad boy results. We're going to stream this out. We're literally just getting this all set and ready to rumble on Clubhouse, Instagram Live. Good morning, LinkedIn. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Facebook, Meta. Ugh. Does anyone else have it? They don't call it Meta. Leadership is something that people already get messed up between the whole having a team, managing them, and leading. And leadership is where the growth comes from. Managing is something that if you're just managing to do something, you're just keeping it in its same state. You're not necessarily aiming to move forward, to progress. And I think that's one of the biggest problems for the vast majority of people is they end up with managers and not leaders. And what we end up doing is we just try to replicate what we do. And that doesn't help us. So hang around. That's what we're going to be doing literally in the space of the next couple of minutes. We're going to be going for about 45 minutes an hour. And the aim behind is going to be able to give you is 20. This squat chair is so squeaky. 20 individual hacks, tips, tricks that you can go off this week and use actually directly within the business. You can start adapting on exactly what you're doing. You can start actually getting a plan together that's going to work for you, that's going to work within the business, that's going to get things moving in a better way. Because that's the aim, right? I think that's a bit better with the light on. So that's what we're aiming to have to do. Because in the same way that with bad leadership, and we're going to cover this today, we can screw things up with a few simple but effective steps. You can really increase exactly what you're doing. And if you're not trying to improve on your leadership, I think that's concerning. If you're not trying to become a better, more effective leader, and here's the thing for why a lot of people don't. We want to lead until we get pushed back, until it gets hard. Everyone can lead in fair tides. When it's easy to lead, everyone can lead because everyone's ready to go. And that's really one of the reasons that this has come about. Because for the vast majority of people that are out there, when we're talking about leading, we're fair weather sailors. So that's what we're going to do. We're literally just about to start. So we start at 9 o'clock. 9 a.m. UK time. 9 till 10, Monday, Tuesday. Might start doing it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you do want to see more of these lives consistently every day, let me know. Because I think that might be something we do. I think it might become a thing where every single day we're out here talking about exactly what we need, delivering trainings. Because these are going to be, eventually we're going to be doing this in a different way. It's going to be done, hosted through the online interactive platform. By the way, anyone who hasn't been on it yet, closedealstoday.com, the training's still there, which gives you a precise and a pinpoint training on what you need to do within the business. And literally just go to, you don't pay for it. We've waived the fee. We used to charge $397 for this program, which delves into 3 key areas of your training while we're just waiting on this room getting started. So bear with me just a second. Suddenly I need to blow the old nose. So, yeah, if you haven't been on there, go to closedealstoday.com. It gives you free pinpoint trainings. And the idea behind the closedealstoday.com training was to get your mindset in a better way, that you understand a little bit differently what some of the things that you aren't doing now. I'd be very surprised for anyone that's doing everything that's laid out on this program. It's very rare, 1 in 100 companies I would say have what's on closedealstoday.com as it, and you literally pop your name and email, phone number in there, bang, you get the training. And the idea behind it is to give you some new info. Like we're talking today about leadership. We're talking about having things that are going to help you lead yourself, your team in a more effective way. Because that's really, really important. For the vast majority of people out there, the big problem lies behind the fact that people aren't leading from the front. We're not going out and actually delivering. We're not actually holding people accountable. And this is why I wanted to break this top 20 down. Because the idea behind that is if you just do each of these things 5% better, 5%, it's nothing. It's literally no effort. But if you do these things 5% better, you will have a 100% increase in your productivity, your results, your leadership skills. And that transcends into so many different areas. And that's the big problem for most people, is that they don't do that. Good morning, Jan.
Hi, David. Was trying to message you on Instagram. I think you haven't seen it yet, but that is okay. In faith, I started the room and I knew you were going to hop on.
Yeah, I did message you on the back channel on here as well. I was just...
Really? Yeah, I didn't get it.
The back channel doesn't seem to be working. So in the mornings, because so I'm now live on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So I set that up 5 minutes before, so then I'm not necessarily looking at my inbox. But I'm always going to be here and ready, Jan. You know me.
Awesome, nice. And just a quick, so can you, is your Instagram on or not at the moment?
I'm looking right now.
Okay, awesome. There is a suggestion over there, so let me know what you think. And
yes,
let's welcome all our friends in. Thank you, Tox, for joining us again, for always being here to support us. And guys, welcome to today's good discussion. We'll be talking about how to.
So we're going to get rolling now. So we're in this room with Clubhouse. Hang about, stick around. We're going to be jumping straight into this. This is literally 30 seconds, and we're going to get started.
Here on Clubhouse, and let me just check how many members we've got at the moment. We are currently 676,000 members strong. If you haven't done so yet, please go to the top of this room where you will see the name of this club in that small font and capital letters. Give it a follow, and meanwhile, nominate some of your friends who can benefit from similar conversations into this club. We really appreciate it. And then later on, if you enjoy this conversation, please feel free to give myself and David, the sales angel, a follow. So we'll be running these rooms on a weekly basis, always on Monday UK time in the morning, and also follow talks. And we'll be bringing up some of our friends onto the stage later on as well. And all of the speakers will be bringing up always dropping gems here on Clubhouse. So if you haven't interacted with them when we bring them up, make sure that you give them all a follow for sure. And also I would love to invite you to click on
right, so we're going to jump into this today.
Left corner of your screen, there is
we've got such a breakdown
with two curvy arrows. Please help us
when you realize some of these little things that most of us just not quite right.
Join us. And also we're going to be doubling up that function. So we're aiming to run this room for 60 minutes. Okay, so this depends on the flow of the conversation. So we do welcome questions. Now, if you do want to ask a question, or if you have a tip for the room about productivity, there are two ways to let us know. One is you can message me on my LinkedIn. On my Instagram, because when David gets talking, he's not going to be able to check his IG or his back channel, so you can message me on my Instagram.
Hey Carl, good to see you on here, buddy. Just hang around. We're literally about to jump into this on leadership. So we're streaming this at the minute over Instagram Live, Insta, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Meta, and Clubhouse. So in Clubhouse, we've got 140 people we're talking to, plus obviously the socials. And we're talking today about leadership. So hang around. Let's connect as well. We haven't spoken for ages.
Double it up to tell us your share or your question, and the speakers on the panel will be able to see share together with your friends as well. So thank you so much for your patience. Now, what we will do today is I will maybe do an opening share, a short one, and then we'll be moving on to David. Will give you a mini masterclass about productivity. My share is regarding the importance of automation and how that can be used to boost your productivity. I am in medical AI. I'm a founder, and prior to that, I was on Wall Street, so I do run a room talking about investment markets. And from that context, I'm going to be talking about productivity, basically via automation. And then later on, David has a whole list of gems that he's going to be dropping about how to boost your productivity, but in a slightly different context, and you'll find out when he starts speaking. But also, I'm going to use this opportunity to let everyone know that the reason why I'm going to be opening with a small share about automation is because next week's topic, we're going to be bringing back the automation room again. We've received a lot of great feedback a month ago when we ran that theme, so we're going to be bringing it back, and we can potentially, depend on your interest, we can potentially make that a monthly room, and every month we can update the list of the apps and the various tools for automation for you, so we can always keep that content fresh and also take some shares from the people in the audience. So that is the plan. So I hope that is okay with everyone. So I will start with telling you a little bit about how I use automation to boost my productivity. I really think it's quite important. It is not just really plugging for next week's room, but really, I think there is a misunderstanding about automation. A lot of people think that automation is for geeky people like me, because I'm in AI, but really I think not only AI, machine learning, or and technological advancement are kind of making waves, right, in all kind of industries. It is also, I think, gonna become more and more like a way of life. So the earlier we can adopt some technology,
don't worry, we haven't forgot about you. Still getting started.
Then the earlier we can start.
We're just trying to do 101 things.
Basically, what these
So it's always a bit manic at the start, but then we're going to get into that flow.
People feel that machines can't really help them that much, so I'm going to be telling you about, in my own trading side, what I use machines for and what advantages that exist in that space. I really think that first of all, machine, because it does not have emotions. Okay, so really in the trading space, it is really useful, because a lot of times we make mistakes when we enter into trades, and that is because we are emotional. We're either driven by too much greed or too much fear, and it's difficult to get that tension right. And sometimes we're just playing impatient. So, for example, you could be saying that, okay, I will buy Bitcoin, say, for example, at 40,000, but because you have been waiting for so long, and you just think, oh, okay, now it's at 42, but let me just buy it.
So Jan's talking at the moment. Jan's an amazing trader, and we try to do these rooms to make sure. Now we're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about productivity. We're going to really get pinpoint about actual things that you can be doing, that you can go off today and actually get used. It's going to be about half an hour training. We're going to probably do some Q&As after, which will be good. And then we're going to swing into the week. Let me know if you want to see more of these done every day. If you want something every day where you can turn up every day, start really showing up. Like, we've got to show up the best version of us. And too, like, we're just, too many people are just just flowing through. And that's what I want to change. When anyone sets a business up, when we set the business up, we set it up because we wanted to get this big result, right? If we ain't at that big result now, we're doing all this hard work, we're not getting a result. That's what we're going to change today. It's what we're really going to change. We're going to start working on how we can do it. So if you want to see this every day, if you want something where you can turn up every single day, know a place you can come to get boosted up, motivated, inspired, learn new things, let me know. DM me with yes. And I'll see how many people want it. Because I think if we can do this every day, I think it'd be good.
That is an opening share that I wanted to do. And without further ado, I would love to pass the mic to David first. And later on, Tops, if you have a share for us, we'd love to hear from you as well. So David is going to be sharing for the next 20 to 30 minutes. And in the meanwhile, we'll be gathering the questions and the shares from the audience. Remember to use the share button to let us know, then we can bring you up onto the stage. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Jan. Amazing share as always. Jan does such a great job, and anyone who doesn't know Jan, you're crazy, and you need to. Now, I'm going to drop something of a link at the top because someone's asked this. Well, actually, 2 people have messaged me about it, but Jan's going to take this down for me if she can in literally a couple of minutes because we don't want to leave just links set here all the time. But someone asked about how can they get some more based on how can they go off today and get some trainings done because they've got time off work and their kids are on half term and they've got a little bit more time. So you can go off and use that. But we're going to literally leave there for 2 minutes and then it'll get taken back down. So what we're talking about today is partly leadership, partly productivity. But the reason I say it's a combination of the two, you have to really get this right. And here's the big thing we've got. Anyone who's an entrepreneur, business owner, whatever it is, when you set up a business, you didn't set it up to average level of success. I'm going to struggle on this and this is going to be hard and that's going to be hard. We set it up with this big vision. Here's the big thing we've got. We get pulled down by loads of little areas and it really slows down what we actually get. Everyone's heard me talk about the analogy of the plane. And a plane typically, depends on the plane, needs to get up to around 150 to 170 mile an hour before it can take off. So we're all producing some degree of activity right now. But the problem is, if it's not producing something, moving us towards something, we've got to look at what is the value within that. And the aim with this today, the idea behind this today, what we're going to talk about today is some simple but effective things that you could go off if you are really committed to getting to that next level. But you can really start getting those cogs spinning a little bit faster, a little bit more effectively, getting more results. I love the analogy that if you're in pain, if you're in hell, don't stop. We don't stop when we're in pain. And a lot of time in business, a lot of the activities that you're doing and they're not producing, they seem like they're a complete waste of time and a waste of effort. And we start just bashing our head against the wall. And I don't want that. I want people to thrive. Now, we're going to jump on the first one of this. Then that link's going to get took straight down. And this is why this is important. This is a shameless plug. When you're looking at getting better results within your business, if your business is trying to generate more revenue, one of the key areas, and this is why we do what we do, is training. Now, here's the whole idea. Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, the Williams sisters, whoever it is out there at the top of their game, they still train and they still practice. Now, the whole idea behind that is they're trying to get to the next level of what they're trying to do. Now, if you're at the stage now that you've given up training, you're saying you've given up on your future. Now, if you're in real estate now, for example, and it's such a buoyant market and everyone's making crazy money, we know there's about to be a storm. Now, when there's a storm, you don't want to wait for the storm to hit for you to start batten down the hatches, boarding up the windows, getting everyone inside safe. You do it before the storm happens. And when the storm happens in business, huge amount of people are going to completely lose everything they've got. That's just a fact. Now, they don't lose what they've got because they've got too little amount of skills. It's too many skills. It's because of a lack of skills, a lack of execution, a lack of polished skills, a lack of practice, a lack of education, a lack of application. So what we want to be able to do is look on the other side, because in the same time, when there is a storm in business, when we see an economic downturn, we also see a huge amount of people make crazy money. Now, that's because they are so sharp at what they do, they can spot the opportunities. They're not in panic mode with head down like an ostrich with a head in the sand, just trying to get through it. We want to be able to look up and thrive. Now, there's a number of reasons why. The research showed that sales training will typically see a 50% increase in results inside of that first 30 to 90 days. Now, I'm not going to hang on to this too long, but this is why we give away so many trainings. Because if you're not training now, but you're going to make out you're the LeBron James, the Williams sisters of your business, of your industry, but you're not doing the same as a top athlete would do to become the top of their game, you've got to question how much do you really, really want it. Number 2, aligning, and this is really important when you're getting productivity, having an alignment between what you're doing with your marketing and what you're doing with your sales. What you are doing on a daily basis. And this is particularly for solopreneurs, small, like micro businesses, 1 to 3 employees. If you're spending 3 hours a day on social media and you work 5 days a week, that's 15 hours a week that you're spending, 60 hours a month, 720 hours a year being spent on social media. Now, for example, if what you could do on your social media that's productive could be done in 90 minutes, you'd gain 320 hours back, roughly. 320 hours. Now, imagine for the moment I ask you to learn Chinese, Cantonese, right? I ask you to learn Swedish, German, whatever it is. And I give you 320 hours. I want you to think about how effective you would become in that time. 320 hours of committed learning, 320 hours of effective learning. Now, imagine for a moment, instead of learning Chinese, Cantonese, learning Swedish, whatever it is, you went off and you worked out how to become more productive. You actually did IPAs, income producing activities. Places where you might get an objection, places where people might say no, places where you're going to put yourself outside of your comfort zone where all the growth is. Now, with 320 hours extra over the next year, just based on that one small area, you will see a spike in your results. So then you go, okay, well, how much time am I marketing? What has my marketing produced over those hours? Where can I trim the fat? How much time am I watching cats play a piano? How much time am I just researching, which isn't making me any revenue? Because this is what we're really doing at that point. We're avoiding pain. We're hiding away from the potential rejections that we might find if someone dared say no. We don't want to lean out to people. I don't want to ask for business. I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that. Here's the fact. If you don't ask, typically the answer is no, unless you've got a serious ad campaign. So next up, we've got to align the marketing and sales. At what point am I marketing? At what point am I selling? And where can I find in those gaps more productivity from taking away from pointless marketing, not effective marketing, but marketing that isn't making you money, in marketing that isn't getting you results, the little changes. And we take that time and we implement it into those IPAs. That's number 2. Number 3, revisit who is your ideal customer and why you are selling to them and how you are selling to them. Now look at this for a moment. Let's just throw some stats out there. Say you pitch, say you're an entrepreneur, right? And you pitch 3 people a day. There's some entrepreneurs out there that go, oh my God, that's a lot. Okay. But imagine you pitched 3 people a day. How many deals have you closed? Well, I closed 1. How much is that worth? It's £1,000. Okay. Well, imagine for the moment we could tweak the avatar on who we're pitching, how we're pitching, and getting clear on our offer. And we could go from a 1 in 3 to a 2 in 3 conversion. What about over those 15 people you pitch a week? Instead of getting 5 deals, you got 8 deals. How does that revenue increase over that month? Now, what would need to happen? Understanding that avatar slightly better, knowing those pain points, improving the follow-up with that avatar. And it comes from knowing who is the avatar and what are their pain points, not just what they have for dinner, but all of the small incremental changes that lose you 1% of this, 1% of that. And this is where a lot of people slip down. We get an idea of who the avatar is, but we don't know the language they use, the objections they've got, the hurdles they face. And we don't put effective things in place to get those people up to that next stage. Number 4, everyone likes to think that the leads that they generate are great. I want people with your productivity, if we are trying to increase it, I want you to find gaps in what you are doing right now. So for example, if you have a lead magnet that comes into there and you're qualifying that as a lead, what could you do? Say it's a high ticket product. You've got a lead magnet, they'll come through to a booking. What can you fit into the gap between when they take your lead magnet to when they actually come on the call to you, how can you add effective touch points to that person? So, for example, if you have Calendly on your system and you haven't got your text reminders set up, that's one area. Let's go down the rabbit hole a bit more. If on the text reminder on Calendly, which comes in 24 hours before and 1 hour before, you don't have a video that shows a testimonial or talks about the objections your client could face before they come in, and you link that in the text, that's another level. Now, when Julie comes in and books a call with me, before she gets a call to me, she has 24 hours before a video about a testimonial about people just like her, because I know my avatar so well that she then goes off and goes, oh my God, they're talking to me. That was me. That's going to be me. I'm going to have a result. Then an hour before, we have something else that reminds them of the appointment, but talks about another pain point. These small incremental changes within your lead magnet to call ratio will make a dramatic difference on what you've got. Next up, number 5. If you want to increase your productivity, what you need to do is you need to be able to track your sales activities. Anyone who's got a pen and paper, write this down. How many people did I sell last month? That's the easy one. Let's say you're a high ticket coach and you sold 10 people last month and you sold them £1,000 course. How many people, this is number 2, how many people did you fully pitch to get to those 10 people? Okay, well, I pitched 20. Okay, so you fully pitched 20 to sell 10. You've got a 50% conversion. Good stuff. Now let's go back a step further. How many appointments needed to be made to get that full pitch? How many phone calls did you have to make to get that full pitch out? How many outbound calls? How many emails? How many activities prior to that did you do? So, for example, if you're an outbound salesperson, you might have to make, to get your 20 pitches out, you might have to call 50 people a day on a B2B basis to get through to doing 20 full pitches, which is only 1 pitch a day, right? Then you can go down another further. So how many calls do I dial outs do I have to make sure that we go for the calls to get there? Now, these numbers are completely awful numbers we're talking about, but I just want you to understand. Now you understand on a call basis how many calls needed to be made, how many times you needed to press dial to actually get through to get your target. Now we've got to work out from that basis, when we know these activities, where is the easiest way to tweak the performance? So number 1, how do we increase our conversion? Okay, now how do we increase getting through to the right person so we actually call less people? Or if we call the same amount, we'll get more pitches out. So now we've gone up from a 10 in 20 to, say, a 12 in 20. But now we can get more appointments out in a month. Now, instead of getting 20 out, we might be able to get up to 25. And when we start working out, well, actually, how do we get to talk to the right avatar quicker? Then we can cut this down again. Now, in each one of these areas, it is easy, I mean, ridiculously easy, to see a 10% to a 30% increase. Most of the time, we'll have 5 areas, from a conversion of a sale, the amount of fully pitched people, the lead generation call side, how many calls are going to be made. All these different areas depends on your industry. Now, if each one of those has a 10 to a 30%, just a 10% increase in productivity, you could see over the next year a 50 to 100% easily increase in the results you're currently getting. Now, I know what a lot of people think. This sounds a lot of work, but you're doing the work anyway. And this is the big thing we forget. Everyone out there that I know says they work hard. Yes, you do. But here's what we need to do. On top of working hard, we need to work in the most effective way. Now, if you work as a salesperson in a job and you're like, well, I don't want to do this, and that's up to you. If you're uninspired, if you don't see the reason, if you don't owe it to your family and your friends or your kids to go off and do the best you can, that's on you. But if you're a business owner, if you're doing the work, imagine for the moment if you saw a 50% increase in your results this year. Imagine if you tweaked your processes and you increased your conversion by 10%. your contact rate by 10%, the amount of pitches you needed to do, the XYZs. Each one of these over time is going to make a dramatic difference to your results. Now, if you're not prepared to track the activities that you're making as salespeople, then you're not, and you are salespeople. As much as you might not like the table of sales, if you are going out there and you are marketing a product or a service and you're trying to get people to pay for them, you are going through the motions of selling. Now, you can rebrand it if that makes you feel better, but if you're doing an activity, track it. Because if we're not tracking it, we're just like being like a sniper in the fog and trying to hit a random target. But as soon as you understand where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, each one of these processes, you'll be really surprised. One, what will happen is this. You'll realize where you're the weakest. And a lot of the time we go off and we tell people things are great. And we spend a huge amount of time. Yeah, life's good. Business is good. But actually, with this little conversion here, if we see a 10% increase in our results, in our conversion, on our numbers, on our pitches, on a qualification, we're suddenly going to have an extra 5K, 10K, 100K. We've done this with a company recently, and they've gone from their big deals being 250, 300K to over 800,000. From 250 to 800K. And all we've done is tweak small parts of those processes. And it starts with understanding the activities. Now, if we went back in time and we jumped in the DeLorean and we went back to whatever, mid of last year, when I first walked into that business, they would have swore blind that their closing ratio was good, that their call rate was good, that this was good. And it was. But what we're aiming for is great, because the difference in effort from good to great isn't that much. The difference between winning and losing a lot of the time in sales and business is the extra bits that you do. Not pressuring people, but being committed to what you do. Understanding where you can get better, where you can get sharper, where you can get more agile, where you can deliver better to the actual people that you're trying to serve. I spoke yesterday about a lot of this. A lot of the time, people in business, they go out and they try and put plasters on axe wounds to people just to hold that together. The person feels like they've been helped, and then a week later, they're in a really bad position. It's got worse. It's infected. So when you're in your business, when you're trying to deliver your results, if you're trying to do it and you don't know where your activities are, you're not going to be in a position where you can deliver to the highest possible level. And if you're doing the activities you're doing now, you're really going to put yourself in a real bad position. Okay, next up, big rant on that one. Communicating regularly with what you're going to do. And we've got 3 more, and then we're going to jump on some Q&As. We've got to communicate regularly with your team, with your customers, with your prospects, especially now. Now we're remote working for a huge amount of people. And as much as we want to think that your team, your partners, your associates, your customers are thinking about you all the time, and I'm sure you're all lovely, we have to realize that people are juggling more now than they ever have before. And having clear lines of communication, being able to clearly articulate what an expectation is of your team, of your business partners, for your clients, for your prospects, and not just on what you expect from them, but what they can expect from you. Too many people out there, when we're talking about productivity, assume that people know what you do. They assume all the little things that you take for granted. And everyone's heard the old phrase, assume makes an ass out of you and me. Spells it out. But what it really does, it means you're just ineffective. Because you've said something 100 times, you automatically assume that when you said it to your prospect 4 weeks ago, your team member 2 weeks ago, that they were automatically 100% committed to you talking. But they all sat there with a pen and paper and jotted down on notes. That didn't happen, people. It always happens sometimes. So this is why we have to communicate effectively. You've got to have the conversations. You need to follow up with what your expectation of them is, what they can expect from you, and then know how you're going to readdress that later. If you've got a team, a sales team, and you haven't got the targets, the standards, and the processes in place, you can't expect them to adhere to it just because you said it once in a meeting. If you've got a client who's looking to do some big monster deal and you've had a big hyped up conversation that you both left it emotionally charged, once that emotional level drops down and the logical brain kicks in and they start having questions. Oh, what did he say about that? And what are we going to do here? Well, yeah, I know I want to do it, but it just doesn't make sense now because it was so driven by the emotion. And you can break that down with a solid communication at the end. And when you've got that communication organized in the right way with your team, with your prospects, with your buyers, with your partners, everybody out there is going to know in more detail exactly where they are, what they expect from you, when they expect it from you, and what they can expect from you. And that's going to increase your productivity. Because then what we're not doing is racing around 24/7, backtracking on everything. Now, if this sounds like a lot of work, I take you back a step. This is your processes. This is your SOPs. This is the way you articulate things. A huge amount of solopreneurs especially, they deal great in phone conversations and empowering conversations. And people all get pumped up and rah, and we punch the air and we celebrate. But then an hour later, a day later, a week later, when the emotions dropped off, our productivity drops off because we haven't got a breakdown on do this, then that, then this, then that. There's no accountability to each person. And as soon as we add the accountability in, it's going to make a big difference. Okay, final two, and then we're going to take a break. Right. On the point of accountability. Accountability isn't there to tell people off. It is not your school teacher checking your homework. Accountability is that person you would train with in the gym. That person who's going to pump you up on the days that you're not pumped up. And a lot of the time, because we're being accountable to someone else, we are more deliberate in our actions. I want you to imagine for a moment now, and it's on my rules of Dave. Joe Rogan spoke about this, and he said, live your life as if there's a film crew that's been sent back from the future to film you now through your struggles, through your hard times, on the build up to the massive success that you have in the future. And you just can't see them. How would you operate differently if there was a film crew following you? Remember when you wake up in the morning, you can't be bothered. How would you act differently if it was a film crew there in the morning? When you missed that deal, when that deal fell out of bed, when that team member annoyed you, when you got off that phone and no one could see you, how would you act differently in that point? And this is why accountability is important. Because when you've got accountability, you have a degree of that which works for you. You put your hand up in the air and you say, this is what I'm going to do, even when it's not comfortable. And this is when it really stands out. So what we need to do with our accountability is go, okay, well, this is where I'm at now and I'm happy, but I want to get here. Now, here's the big caveat. I don't want people with your accountability to start saying, I'm going to become a cajillionaire in the next half an hour without any problems. Instead, think of it like this, same as we're talking today. What can I do today to move it forward? If you're unhealthy and you say, listen, I'm going to do one press up a day. If you get down the ground and do one press up and get up, fine, do that. Most people won't. And with accountability, we need to set the minimums, expectations and standards. But on our bad day, what would we expect from us? And then what would we expect on our good day? And then what would we expect on our great day? And then in your accountability group with your accountability partner, once you've established your bad day, your good day, your great day, whichever three terms you want to have it as, you can simply in that group, you could put at the end of your day, good day, 2 deals, 6 pitches, 30 people spoke to, 2 face-to-face meetings, 1 proposal, 1 client deal, good day. And when you've got that and you have to put that in the end, when you're feeling low, when you're feeling tired, when you're feeling bored, when you're sidetracked by going to the Porsche garage or booking a holiday, you know at the end of the day, you've got to have that accountability to someone who's going to hold you accountable, and that alone will push you through. Most people work hard, but we cut ourselves too much slack as soon as it gets tired and tough and we get bored and restless. And we find something to fill in that gap. And if we're going to fill in the gaps and we're only going to work hard when we're motivated, when we're pumped up, when we're inspired, we're going to miss a huge amount of time. And I think that's one of the biggest problems for most people.